Hopefully, hopefully you guys can hear me, but I just put on my microphone and hopefully this goes well. Okay. Hey everyone, this is James, also known as CI. Oh, I gotta look here. Hey everyone, this is James, also known as CI, also known as the J Christian, and also known as Jamesy. Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome. We are concluding season 16 reunion of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Now, the reunion, I'm not gonna lie, to me it was given a little meh. Okay, it wasn't all that until a certain someone came into the room. That is Charles Oakley. Charles, to me, I felt like he was the MVP for this reunion, for this part of the reunion specifically. I felt like Charles gave some of the ladies a wake-up call and let them know that, hey, I'm not the one to be played with. You know, I am Angela's husband, but don't mess with me. So, shout out to Charles Oakley. I think he was the MVP for this part of the reunion. Now, before we get into anything, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Also, like and comment on this video. Also, follow my social media. Links will be down in the description box below. And without further ado, let's get into the review. So the reunion picks up with, Portia and Shamia arguing, going back and forth and back. They bring up the drama with their moms. So this is what happened with the drama between the two mothers. So this is what happened, okay? And for the people who don't know who their mamas are, Shamia's mom is Mama Morton, and, Portia's mom is Miss Diane. Both of them, they were in the childcare industry, right? It had came to an alert that back in the day, Miss Diane's location was going into foreclosure. And so what happened was that Portia's mom and Shamia's mom, they really weren't speaking like that, I think. And I think Portia's mom got a little bit upset that once her business got into foreclosure, Shamia's mom had actually bought over the location and they actually had a sign that was being put up. Andy did bring up the fact that it was nice to see, I think it was for Portia's birthday post. It was for someone's birthday post. It was either Portia or Shamia's, that they had wished them a happy birthday and they thought it was real nice of them to do that. A little nice moment. I'm not gonna lie, Shamia, I like Shamia. I don't got no issues with Shamia, but when Portia said, because you're lying, and then Shamia said, and you don't think you've been lying too, I'm like, Shamia, girl. With you saying that, it's gonna make people think that you're a liar. And we have already seen that on the previous parts of the reunion. So that comeback, I was just like, girl, you really could have said something else. But, it is what it is. Shamia said what she said. You know what I was really annoyed about? I know people do not like bread. I know. But Shamia, girl, and I understand Brit was in the season. I understand that. But you don't see any other person besides Shamia mentioning Brit. I understand that they have been around most of the time, right? But girl, it's just like all I'm hearing from her is Brit. Like I'm hearing all of Brit, and I'm like, girl, give it up. Like we get it. Like we really, really get it. Shamia also talks about her regretting bringing up her friendship problems with Portia to Drew and Angela. Listen, you felt good enough to share that with both of them because, like what Drew said, you thought it was a safe space. It's nothing wrong, addressing your concerns about your friendship with Portia. Now, had you done that with Portia privately, I probably would have been like, okay, you know what? Maybe this will be good. They're going to talk it out, hopefully find a resolution, and hopefully things will just be better than ever, right? But Shamia, you really felt good sharing that with Drew and Angela because it was a safe space. Again, I don't think there's nothing wrong on what she did. There's nothing wrong. Just own up to the fact that, listen, I just felt like, because Portia and I were not speaking and I was hanging out with Drew and Angela, I'm like, you know what, they're cool people. They came over to my studio and, we had drinks after that. We had lunch and, it was a really good conversation. And I did felt those concerns with Portia. And Portia, I apologize for not bringing it up to your attention at first, but that's just the way how I feel. Had she said that, I would have been like, okay. I would have been like, this would have been good. This would have been good. When I tell you, Shamia flopped so bad again. I'm telling you, Shamia really, I don't know what she was thinking of coming into the reunion. I really don't know. But girl, when I tell you, Drew again ate Shamia up. Drew kind of ate Shamia up a little bit more throughout this reunion. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. But girl, Shamia, you really had to get it together. Like, you really got to get it together. I don't know what's going on. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's just all over the place. Then apparently they talked about the situation with Portia saying that she didn't want Shamia to be a peach holder. Portia said, no, that's not true. She even asked Andy, did I wanted Shamia to be a peach holder, to be a housewife? And Andy kind of confirmed yes. I'm not going to lie. At first, when I saw Andy's response, I was thinking to myself, maybe he was just tired. Like, I don't know. Maybe he was just tired and he was just saying yes. And he was like, yes, yes. But then on the other side of my head, I'm thinking to myself, I don't think Portia would low key lie about that for some reason. I don't know why. And it's not because I'm not feeling Shamia like that, but I'm just saying because, Portia and Shamia, like, they've been hanging out. And Portia like went all out congratulating Shamia on her peach and that she wanted her to do this and that she wanted her to do that. So it's just kind of like, I don't know. Right? So that's just how I feel. I mean, I in my opinion, I feel like Portia did want Shamia to have a peach and to just let her, her life be shown and her presence be shown and see what she got going on a daily basis. And yeah, they talked about her kissing with Candy. And girl, can I say something? I am tired of speaking about the past. Why are we bringing up the kissing situation with Candy and Todd? Why? Who asked? Hello? 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 Who asked? That whole situation with Portia and Shamia, like, it really did got me like sleepy. Like, I was so tired. I didn't know what to do. Like, at this point, girl, just let it go. If you guys are not going to speak, then don't speak. If you guys are going to have a conversation, have a conversation. Whatever you do, just do it. As long as you guys just would work it out and just be in the right track of things, then I guess y'all will be good to go. And then you have Kelly, defending Shamia, right? Kelly made a little dig. Kelly was like, when Portia said the comment, what she said about her not getting the peach. No, I'm not going to lie. Kelly, I like you. But that did low-key give a little dig, right, between Portia. Because I think also Portia was saying that she was doing interviews saying that she didn't congratulate her for having a peach. She went to the Breakfast Club. She was doing all these Atlanta interviews, all these other interviews and stuff too. And it basically wasn't true according to Portia. Kelly defended Shamia by saying that, listen, I think Shamia, this is your moment to tell Portia how you feel. And I do agree. But then again, I'm thinking to myself, you had all this time when you guys were filming. Why didn't you pick up the phone or even text and say, hey, we need to have a private conversation. I feel like this is very important. Can you meet with me? And I'm sure Portia would have said, yeah. I'm sure they would have been addressing their concerns, back and forth, and hopefully come to a resolution and talk things out and just see how things go. They talked about each other's friendships as far as Kelly and Britt is concerned. Kelly feels like Portia and Britt's friendship is calculated, and Shamia's friendship with Kelly was a little bit weird as well. I mean, Kelly is friends with Shamia, Portia is friends with Britt. Britt and Kelly, they're not friends anymore. So I guess it kind of makes sense as to why, they did what they did. Andy asked Cynthia, aka the Peacemaker. Would y'all call Cynthia the Peacemaker this season? I don't know. But anyways, it's no shade to Cynthia, but I don't know. Like, it's no shade. But I'm just like, is she the Peacemaker? I mean, at least she was being wise. She was being wise. I will give her that. So Andy asked Cynthia, where do you think this friendship stands? Cynthia said the love is there, but the healing hasn't happened. And hopefully that you guys do not throw this friendship away. I do agree. Because Portia and Shamia, they've been friends since middle school. And so for you guys to be friends for that long amount of years and to just throw all of those long years of friendship away, I mean, I would be sad and I would be disappointed. So I thought what Cynthia gave was valid. It was valid. The men, they're getting ready for the reunion. Dennis is getting a little fade. I don't know what he got going on, but Dennis got a little haircut and he says that he's supporting Portia and Drew all the way. That's family. Okay. I mean, I guess if you say so. If you say so. They show Drew's package. They talked about Ralph living in the basement and you know how he loves the basement and stuff like that. They also talked about Drew's accomplishments, one of them being her signing her record deal. And then they also talked about the divorce case. Now, I will say this, and I have been saying this for quite some time. Drew, to me, actually did good this season. I actually liked Drew season 16. Like, I felt like this was the season where I kind of felt like Drew was holding her own in a way, and she didn't give a damn about what other people would think. Even though I know some people will say, oh, Drew be lying, you know, Drew does stand on what she says. So I thought that was really, really good of Drew. And Drew has been doing her thing musical wise. You know, she has put out this album. She signed a record deal, like I said before. And you know, she's also doing a movie which should be coming out pretty soon. Like, she's been doing her thing. So I commend Drew. I really do commend Drew for real. Like, she really put in the hard work into being a housewife, and along with being a housewife, doing other things outside of the show. They did talk about the kids, you know, when Drew and her mom had that conversation with the kids. Drew's mom did notice that they weren't themselves, that they were a bit different. And so the kids, they actually got into therapy, which I think is great. You know, I want to give a shout out to all the people. You know, it's nothing wrong with going to therapy. It's nothing wrong. I know some people might think, you know, because you're crazy that you should go to therapy. No, it's okay for you to go to therapy to gain another perspective. I just think it's good because therapy is a way of just making sure that you're okay, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, like all those things, right? Shout out to the concept of therapy. And I'm sure most people might need therapy, you know, and that's okay. They talked about Ralph tweeting about her mom. When I tell you, that was the most disrespectful comments that I have ever seen and heard in this reunion. She said, watch your mouth. She had spent all of his money and Ralph had to bail her out. When I say that was the most disrespectful comment, and I'm not saying this because I like Drew, I'm saying that because the fact that you are a grown man talking about someone's parents, about what they do, first of all, whatever the parents do, that is their business. And for him to do that on national TV and on social media was out of line on so many different levels. They talked about the resurfaced clip of Drew and Ralph in the kitchen cooking steak. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was real cute. I'm gonna tell you why. I would say it was cute, and Cynthia kind of said this, was because of the fact that it shows that no matter how bad things can be, you know, there still can be a good co-parenting relationship. And I felt like with this situation, they were being good co-parents at that point. Drew said that when Ralph posted the video, the caption was alluding to something else. It wasn't alluding to them being good co-parents and showing them that they can co-parent very well. Oh, they talked about Ralph having a woman in the basement. When I tell you, Ralph is one trifling man. Ralph is one trifling man. You mean to tell me that Drew had went to her daughter's school? She sees the lady that Ralph has been with, and Ralph's woman had the audacity to ask Drew, who are you? Come again? All I'm gonna say is that was trifling. Trifling as hell. Next case. They talked about most of the women, why are they not showing compassion to Drew except for Angela, and they showed a lot more compassion to Portia. Kelly said that, you know, I was wanting to have a conversation with you about it. Kelly was saying that they could have hit it off more. Now, Kelly, I'm gonna have to call you out a little bit because, again, Drew did talk about her divorce to the ladies, I think earlier in the season. I could be wrong. But Kelly, you could have reached out to Drew episodes ago about what's been going on with her relationship. Now, I'm not saying that you should be messy, but because you are going through the same situation that Drew was going through, I really felt like you still could have reached out to Drew episodes ago and say, listen, what is going on? You know, I'm here for you. Whatever you need, I'm here. And you could have did so many different things. Instead of you calling Drew a liar and you saying all these things and what other people have been saying, you should have been doing that. And then Angela was shaking her head like this while Kelly was speaking. And that is completely correct. Kelly, You really thought you ate with that one situation. No, you did not. No, you didn't. And I like you now, but girl, no. Mm-mm. So then a viewer asked a question to Shamia, and they were asking her, why did you twist Drew's words when you had brought it back to Portia, but you had held a higher standard to what Angela had said, right? I think Shamia was doing that just to be messy, because of the fact that Shamia and Portia are friends, and, because they are friends, they feel like, you know what, this is what she has said, and I think she was speaking bad about what you got going on. Again, this is what I'm talking about. You have to be honest. I don't see the honesty in this situation at all. Okay, and that's all I'm gonna say. I know I'm looking over here, but I'm supposed to be looking here. I'm charging my microphone and my phone, so yeah. But Portia thought that it was cringy. I agree, it was cringy on what Shamia had said. Like, girl, that's not what Drew was talking about. Drew was saying with all of these songs and with this album coming out, I'm sure the royalty checks will come in, and I'm sure it can help not just, Drew's family, but it can also help Dennis and her family with PJ. Although the comment was messy, I don't see Drew, being that shady in a way where she would say that about someone else's child. I don't see that. Girl, I'm not gonna lie. When Shimi and Portia were going back and forth, when Drew said she is fighting for her friendship, go ahead and fight for your life, I said, girl, here we go. They talked about this dinner with Ralph. The dinner was messy as hell. Shamia got some nerve to ask Portia, would you want to have dinner with Ralph? And Portia went along with it. Listen, I don't want to talk about it because it was just, again, it was a cringy moment. I was just like, girl, why are you doing this? And you talking about, oh, it was for a podcast on what you guys did back in 2022. Girl, no. Quiet as it's kept, we haven't even heard about the podcast to this day. Okay. So I don't know. Yeah, they talked about how, Shamia was a lapdog. Shamia was a lapdog about asking Portia to have dinner with Ralph. Like, it was just lapdog behavior to me. It was. I'm not gonna lie. When Angela so I think what happened was, so while they were going back and forth about the lapdog situation, Angela had made this comment saying, I'm too big to sit on anyone's lap. I said, Angela, not baby. I said, Angela, you did not have to say that. But, I guess she was being honest, because she was making it known that she doesn't need to be anyone's lapdog, especially Drew's. Drew can hold her own. Drew can speak her speech, she can do everything by herself. Oh, they talked about Ming Lee and Ty. Remember on Basketball Wives when Ming Lee had said that Ty was speaking to Drew Sidora and the phone bill would be up to 30,000 minutes a month? Yeah, they talked about that. Then they talked about Black Girl, about, are Black and Drew dating? Are they friends? Are they strictly platonic? Or do they have a relationship? Honestly, I didn't care. I'm not gonna lie, it was not that much to talk about anyways. Drew gave everybody his hookah, which has no nicotine or whatever and stuff like that. I think someone asked a question about if Drew was dating someone, why didn't Drew come clean with the rumors about Dennis? Like, Drew has been saying from the beginning she is not messing around with Dennis. I think Portia low-key kind of egged it on by saying how, listen, you're lying, this is not true. And it was just, and with this text message, and this is what I'm going to say, and I'm going to move on to the next case. I want the text message, not words. I want the text message itself to be shown on TV so that we know that what Portia was saying was either true or false. I want to see the text message. I don't want to see words pop out on a phone. Okay, I don't want to see words pop out on the phone. The men come out on stage, Dennis comes out, Ralph comes out, and Charles comes out. I do not understand why Shaq was at the reunion and he didn't come out on stage. But I guess it was pretty valid because I was like, girl, okay, maybe he didn't do that much. Dennis talked to Portia about Drew, and they also talked about the comment of, Drew saying that she wanted to F him for studio time. Again, that is not true. I don't see Drew doing that. Like, I just don't. And then you got Ralph believing that the text message was true. Ralph, please be quiet. Please don't. Like, this is what I'm talking about with some of these men. Like, they want to be on TV and they want to act out and they want to do all this type of stuff to show out. I don't like that. They talked again about the situation with Ralph and the woman in the basement. Apparently, that was a lie. She had the woman outside doing fitness content. Okay. I mean, That's to be determined, but carry on. But I will say Ralph did acknowledge off camera that, Drew is a good mom. She is a good person. She's taking care of the kids. She's making sure that everything is right and stuff like that. So I can see that there is still love there in a way. So I commend Ralph for that. Then we get to Charles. When I tell you Charles again was the MVP this season. So Andy had said that, he was asking Charles, "Are you hiding behind a wife?" or something like that, right? And Charles made it clear that no, I am not hiding behind my wife. Angela and I are married, and we love each other. I support her. She supports me, and it is what it is, right? Shami is getting eaten up once again, girl. So they were talking about how Charles and Shamia had met each other, right? And Charles was saying we did not meet each other because they were at someone's wedding and, they kind of saw each other in the same room. This is what I do want to say. Just because you were in the same room as someone doesn't mean that you automatically met them. You probably ran into them and you probably would have been like, oh, okay, I saw this person, da 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 da. Oh, okay. And even with them showing the picture of Charles and Gerald taking a picture together, I'm sure, like, they don't know each other like that, like that. Like, they probably have met. She didn't know him like that, right? If that makes any sense. Charles, again, ate Phaedra up, too. And it was like, so, Phaedra, how do you know Charles? Like, where did you meet Charles? This is how you know that Phaedra was low-key lying, and I'm going to tell you why. Once Andy asked Phaedra, where did you meet Charles? Phaedra was like, well, Phaedra pulled a charade. Phaedra was like, me and Charles, we have been in several. Girl, either you're gonna tell us where did you meet the guy, or you didn't meet the guy specifically. Just tell the truth, Phaedra. Like, girl, Charles don't know Phaedra. Girl, Charles don't know Phaedra. Like, just because of the situation with Sheree. Girl, Sheree got nothing to do with Charles knowing Phaedra. Let's be very clear. And they also talked about the relationship with Charles and Sheree. They had dated in 2005, 2006 ish. So yeah. But the relationship didn't last that long, and I think Sheree kind of let it go. Sheree don't want Charles just like Charles don't want Sheree, and that's cool. They talked about the outside baby situation of it all. For the people who don't know, Wendy Williams and Charles Oakley, they had a cook-off for charity, and I think Angela kind of took it upon herself to go to Wendy and talk to Wendy, like, listen. And Angela had brought it up to Wendy that I'm sorry that you had a side baby, right? But I had a side baby too, or something like that. Y'all don't quote me. I'm just paraphrasing. If y'all would watch the show, then you guys know what I'm talking about. But she wasn't talking about Charles. She was talking about the other child's previous father, which I think is the oldest daughter's father. And it was just a little bit misconstrued in a way. So Charles talked about this Madison Square Garden incident back in 2017. He did say that it was a step back and it kind of strained Angela and Charles' marriage in a way. I think they kind of did a little work on it. And Charles did say that he felt good hearing, him be more accountable, holding himself accountable. And he continues to love his wife no matter what goes on and stuff. And it felt good. Then Kelly and Ralph had words because Ralph said that Kelly's husband had a conversation with Ralph. To me, I guess it wasn't a major conversation, but it was a little conversation, probably just to get some tea on something. I don't know. And then they got into the final thoughts for season 16. Andy commended Drew and Portia for moving on in the right direction, and hopefully things will be good. Andy asked Kelly what was his takeaway on this season, and that she says that she needs to choose her friends wisely, basically. And she also wants me and Portia to be in a great relationship like they used to be. Phaedra next. Angela felt good that she had a great season, and that she felt good that she brought her mom along to the show to have these conversations and film with her and all these types of stuff. May she rest in peace. I think everybody loved seeing Angela in her element. And I was like, all right. Yes. And then Cynthia, was being a good friend, I guess, like the peacemaker. She kept the train going and stuff like that. So kudos to Cynthia. Shamia's takeaway was to, build alliances with everybody, not just with a certain amount of people. She also learned to be more open about her feelings and that it's okay to have feelings. And then Portia's takeaway was that, listen, even though that she is sitting with other divorcees, that she is still in her right mind. Um, even though the season has been through its ups and downs, that she is grateful for this season. And yeah, and then the reunion closed off with the ladies doing like the where them fans at, where them fans at, where them fans at, and then with the look. And so they did all that. And that was the end of the reunion and the season. So we are concluding season 16. I want to give a shout out to all the ladies, including Kenya and Britt, for trying to make this season work. You know, I do wish that Kenya and Britt was at the reunion to, you know, talk their speech, say their story, you know, say what happened. Hopefully things would have been okay. Shout out to Portia, shout out to Shamia. Hopefully their friendship will be great. Hopefully they have conversations. Shout out to Drew. Shout out to Angela. Shout out to Kelly. Shout out to Cynthia. And also shout out to Phaedra. Even though Phaedra has been on the show for a short amount of time, I mean, at least she was talked about, you know? But shout out to everybody. I mean, they kind of did their big one. So that was the end of the review. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Again, make sure you guys like the video, comment on the video, tell me what you guys thought about the reunion and the season. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Also follow me on my social media. Links will be down in the description box below. And without further ado, that is a wrap on season 16. And hopefully you guys have a great day. Bye, guys.